So whether you like it or not, you are becoming something. All of us are becoming something. And whether you like it or not, habits are forming. You see, habits are formed when you repeat something, it reinforces it. And that leads to it becoming a habit. So we all have something we are becoming through these habits, and we are all being formed into something. And here's another fact. You have choices for the direction of your life. You get to decide in which direction that you want to go in. And this is important because direction determines the destination. And the direction is more important than the speed. We can quickly go in the wrong direction, and we can have great intentions about going to a destination, but if we're headed in the wrong direction, it doesn't matter. And we focus on speed and in good intentions when really it's the direction that matters the most in terms of arriving at the destination of choice. And just to kind of illustrate this, just think about this. If you're a driver, you'll start to do this on a regular basis like I do, or maybe you've done this when you're at home or you're at school, but maybe you've wanted to go somewhere, you've wanted to go to a class, or if you wanted to drive somewhere, but as you're like kind of mindlessly going about what you're doing, you just drive somewhere or walk somewhere out of habit instead of going there. And it doesn't matter whether you do it quickly or what. If you drive in the wrong direction, you're never going to get to the destination that you want. And so that just kind of helps us see that that it's the direction we go that determines the destination we arrive at. And so if we have a destination of growing closer to Jesus, then we've got to walk in that direction. And the steps that we take will be influenced by the habits that we make. These things will either take us closer to Jesus, or it'll take us away. And I have to say, we don't do this to try to earn God's love, and we don't do this so that we don't lose our salvation or something like that. We do this as a response to God's love for us. You see, you have already been bought and paid for. You're secure in His love, and you've been adopted into His family. And so we have a desire to have a life of joy and peace and love. And Jesus is the place that we go to find those things. We find them in Him. And so if we want to find those things, we've got to walk in that direction. And though Jesus has done the work on the cross, we don't just sit back and expect Him to do all the work of this sanctification process. We play a part. We make choices. And so here's what I want us to look at over the next few weeks. We're going to look at habits that we can start, or maybe we've already started some habits and we want to go deeper in them. And these habits are things that we can use to strengthen our walk with Jesus. Think about them as sort of like a bench press or squat or any kind of physical activity, or a run if we're trying to get in shape. Imagine those things as the habits in our faith. And so these are things that we're going to be able to do that are going to strengthen our faith and help us to take steps down a path that will draw us closer to Jesus. And so we're going to have a few weeks before we're back in normal things for sure, at church or youth group or whatever. And so these habits are things that we can do while we're at home. We can do them when we're even back at church and at school and all that kind of stuff. Or if you have a job, there are things we can even do at work. And I want you to know how important habits are. In 2002, there was a researcher named Wendy Wood that did a study, and she found that approximately 43% of our daily behaviors are performed out of habit. Think about that. Half the things you do each day, or almost half the things you do each day, are done out of habit. They're things that we do repetitively, and they've been reinforced, and they become habits. And so what she also says is that new behaviors can become automatic through the process of habit formation. And old habits are hard to break, and new habits are hard to form because the behavioral patterns which humans repeat become imprinted in our neural pathways. But it is, she says in the study, but it is possible to form new habits through repetition. So just think, half of the things we do have been formed through repetition and through habits, and they're going to influence the steps that we take. These habits are, but we can reprogram some of those things. And so think about this. What are the habits of your life? What are the things that you do without even thinking because they're so ingrained in your mind? Maybe over and over again, the first thing you do when you wake up or before you go to bed or throughout the day is you check your social media, you refresh your feed, you text with people, you Snapchat, you do all those kinds of things, or maybe you watch TV, or who knows what you do. There's a million things that we can do out of habit. But I want you to think about, what are the habits of your life? What are they? And where, maybe more importantly, where are these habits taking you? Are they taking you closer to Jesus or to the world? Because it's these habits that will be a large determining factor in the path you take and the direction you go. So let me ask you this. Who do you want to be? What do you want to be remembered by? And maybe what I'm really trying to say is, what is your destination? Where do you want to go? Each of these questions can be answered by the path that we walk. And the path that we walk is influenced by the habits that we make.